First off, I want to show you guys a little demonstration of what the minimum viable product for this build is. So this is just a moderate tier 16 map, but the gear is anything but moderate. It's beyond moderate. It's the most moderate. So I have downgraded pretty much all of my gear to blue items. The amulet's got a couple mods on it just because I need the stats and the res. But besides that, I'm on a 5 link here with no good implicits. This is not corrupted. This is not corrupted, obviously. And this is it. Yeah, it's all blue gear. Crafted this in about 60 seconds right before I clicked record. And I just want to show you guys a quick little demo of wearing the hopefully actual trash gear, the trashiest. And then what I want to show you is just kind of a quick little crafting guide on what you should aim for when you're trying to put this build together a little bit later. But, you know, this is hopefully, you know, primarily worse gear than you'll be leaving the campaign with, at least in terms of like life and res and all that. But you still can you can still mostly cap out your res. I'm still missing some chaos res here. Chaos res is low, but besides that, I do have, what do I have? I have 78%. Actually, I guess that's with the Quartz Flask up. So I have 68% lucky spell suppression. So I have a decent amount of spell suppression here. You can see that I can kind of take some hits there. I have decent evasion, and this is with absolute trash gear. This is with a lightning coil on, so I have some Fizz to elemental conversion. And yeah, so that's what it looks like in a tier 16 map. It's not super tanky, but, you know, with actual trash gear on, hopefully that looks okay, and hopefully the damage looks okay here. It's not going to be good damage, but it's okay damage. And that's, again, with this wand. That's with this wand, you know, okay tier 16 damage. Again, you know, moderate map, nothing special, but yeah, with blue gear, you can still play the game. The build still works. That's the minimum viable product. You can farm T16s with very, very little gear on. The hard carry here, a lot of it is the, you know, the Delirium mod here with your implicits. This is giving you a lot of damage with the Eye of Malice. I'll even show you how to make this wand very, very quickly. So let's get to it. I want to give you guys a very, very quick little crafting guide on why you don't have to wear this gear, and you can aim for stuff like this that is a little bit better. All right, so first up, the weapon. A lot of people took umbrage to the fact that I call this a trash weapon. They were really focused on the fact that it has fractured level of all cold spell skill gems, and not the fact that it had tier 3 and tier 4 damage and then a crafted damage on top of it. At the end of the day, for this build, level of cold spell skill gems is nice, but it's actually not very good. The clear damage is usually acceptable, and this just kind of blocks you from having another damage modifier. We would much prefer all spell skill gems, of course, but also fire spell skill gems. Your clear damage is just generally pretty fine. And particularly because we're aiming to 6-link our Frostblink here, this is our #1 priority, we're making sure that our clear damage is fine right off the bat. And just having that level of all cold spell skill gems, the reason why I call this trash is because to me, you know, I was showing a demonstration of single target. This was just a 3-mod item. The cold is just for clear. If you want to craft like a mid-tier item, it's actually really, really easy. The simplest thing is you can sell a white item. You would prefer a Void Scepter, ideally, that has 40% elemental damage, but I just grabbed this wand from the vendor really quickly. A wand or a scepter with 2 gems that have 20% quality, 2 fire gems, ideally, that have 20% quality on them, particularly if you're farming lab or you're just doing a lot of farming and, you know, gems with quality are dropping. You know, just hold on to those. You can sell those for +1 fire. I don't really recommend this in not SSF, but in SSF, this is a great way to get that guaranteed level. So you can do this right here. We have that. The easiest thing from here is just Regal and Multimod. That's actually by far the easiest thing that you can do. You'll have a guaranteed 2 additional damage mods. You can Exalt on, trying to get the last one. This does cost 2 Divines plus a couple more Chaos, but it will guarantee that you get something usable and good. The ideal is to start with something like Damage Over Time Multiplier, Alteration until you hit level of all fire or all gems, and then you can multi-mod from there for a really nice guaranteed 4-stat item. Look up any RF Scepter crafting guide. They're all exactly the same. That's all you have to do. So from here, I'm just going to Regal. Okay, we hit tier 3 increased fire damage, actually on the suffix. So it goes. So it goes when you're recording. I guess you get lucky. Can have up to 3 crafted. Then we do fire damage over time multiplier right here. And then we do increased fire damage right there on the prefix. And just like that. And even if we didn't hit that fire damage on the Regal, that's definitely a lucky Regal, this is still a good item regardless. +1 fire, up to 54% fire and up to 20% fire dot multi. And then you can just exalt on the last mod. Hope you hit something good. Well, with attack skills, not the best thing in the world, but we can live with it. And then you have a very, very acceptable usable item. Again, use a Void Scepter. Something like a Demon's Horn is not awful because the flat damage will work very nicely with Frostblink next patch, but it's not as good for scaling your fire trap, so it's not as good for your single target. And again, the crafting recipe is a normal. It has to be Scoured, Rune Dagger, Scepter, Staff, or Wand with a quality of gems combined total of 40%. And that's it. Start with a Fractured Suffix if you want to guarantee 4 good mods, and that's it. It's not a very hard craft whatsoever. And then the other method is you can use a Scorched Fossil spam. Ideally, you do want to start from a Fractured base here. Guarantee 1 good mod. Fractured dot multi is ideal, not fire dot multi, regular dot multi, because that doesn't have a fire tag. And then you're just going to be going for at least 2, if not 3, good fire damage mods. And then you can either multi-mod afterwards or just craft a single mod, and then you're good to go. So let's see if we hit something good. This is, again, the casino method. It is not guaranteed. I have had some bad luck streaks in not hitting what I wanted, but let's recraft this and let's see if we can hit something good. And that's all there really is to it. Like, look at that. Second one, we get T3 burning damage, T1 fire damage. With this one, I tried to annul the chance to shock, and then I can multi-mod fire damage and damage over time on the prefix. Let's actually see if we can do that. And that's really all it comes down to. We did annul it. Okay. Check this out. So this doesn't have damage over time multiplier right now, which is not ideal. I probably wouldn't multi-mod this normally. But what we can do is increase damage over time as well as fire damage. And just like that, we have potential of 104. Plus, if this was a Void Scepter, another 40% on the implicit. So we can get 144% just off of this, which is a totally acceptable and usable item if you had a nice Fractured base. Also, important thing that I didn't note is that spell damage doesn't work for Ignite. Do not go for spell damage. That's why we generally don't care about wands for this build. Elemental damage only affects, or Ignite is only affected by elemental damage, not spell damage. This one's totally acceptable. Check this out. T7 flat fire dispels. Flat fire is decent. We don't mind it. But we can just do this. We can craft fire damage right here. And boom, what was this? This was 4 fossils. And we got this. Tier 3 burning damage, Tier 3 dot multi. This is actually better than what I just had before I started. 4 fossils in. This is already better than what I showed in the video yesterday. It's got Tier 5 fire res. Look at that. Better, of course, would be to start with a better fracture. And just to really satiate your desire for knowledge here and to see me gamble, go a little bit more. Tier 3 flat fire, Tier 3 burning. Again, right here, I could just craft fire dot multi and hit it with a random exalt and see what we hit. That's the thing that you can do to try to finish this. That's totally fine. What else do we get? Keep going. Trash, 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 and trash. Okay. Within 10 fossils there, we had 2 decent hits. We had 1 very solid hit, and then the rest were trash. I'd say that's probably about par for the course when you're doing the fossil spamming, but that's all you have to do. You can just buy Fractured dot multi. Fractured all spell is the best, or Fractured fire, and just spam it with a couple Scorch fossils, and you should be good to go. That's all you gotta do for the weapon. It's very, very easy. Just buy the cheapest fracture that you can. If you can get high tier fractured fire damage or burning damage, that's okay as well. If you're really lazy, you can do Reforged Fire in the Horde crafting station, but I don't recommend it because it only guarantees 1 mod. It doesn't affect all of them. And then for all 3 of these, they were crafted in the exact same way, and that is with essences. So for the belt that I was wearing yesterday, I just crafted this with a tier 2 essence, just whatever until I had 2 essences on it, and then I crafted life. I did hit a couple other nice mods on it, but again, you can just use a blue belt if you really care about it. This is just a regular stat belt. In terms of the boots, these were crafted in the old method. Let's fix them up and make them more modern. Let's make a modern pair of boots. So all we have to do here is I'm going to do this. Going to craft life, slam them, and there we go. All right, tier 2 movement speed. We'll happy with that. So there you go. There's a pair of boots. This was crafted with Essence of Envy for Chaos Res. Tier 2 Fractured Spell Suppression starts a little bit more expensive. I recognize it. But in the PoB, if you look at it, I do very specifically only have Tier 2 11% Spell Suppression on my boots and 0% Spell Suppression on the gloves. We do have Tier 3 Spell Suppression on the shield. I think that's Tier 3. Yep, that's Tier 3 Spell Suppression on the shield. because we do go for a lot of spell suppression on the passive tree, which allows us to cap out at a natural 100% without lucky, without going into spell suppression on even one of our items. So you can just get tier 4 spell suppression on the boots and the gloves and even the shield, tier 4 on all of them, and you'll still have cap spell suppression. So I left a lot of leeway there. We have a lot of flexibility, so you don't have to go for high tier spell suppression whatsoever. In my demo, I had tier 2 on 2 items and then 0 on one of my items. So that's all you have to do for gearing out your spell suppression. I have it set up so you only need a total of 30% spell suppression split across 3 pieces of gear. The shield especially, you can get 5% on the implicit, and you can even craft 10% on a suffix right there. It's just a craft that you can do. Yep, 10% right here. You can craft it for 4 chaos, and that allows you to have a flexibility for just getting 15% across your boots and your gloves if you want to do that. So that's all you need to do for the spell suppression. I do recommend just crafting it with essences, ideally something like Essence of Envy, until you hit some other res on there. So you have 3 reses on the suffix. You may be in a situation where you have to just craft movement speed next patch. We are losing the old Veiled Chaos Horde craft. Very sad. Genuinely very sad about that. You may actually just want to go to ROG for crafting these next patch. So just do be aware of that. For the shield, same idea, just craft it with Essence of Envy. Get res on your suffix. If you can't get Fractured Spell Suppression, just use a res until you can get some spell suppression on there, and you should be okay. Craft the final spell suppression on your 3rd suffix, and that should be okay right there. And then the gloves are just use Essence of Delirium, actually. So this is a very, very easy craft. Again, you don't need that much spell suppression on your gear, only 30% across 3 items. Just to make that really clear, should be very, very accessible for a lot of people. But if we go to our essences right here, Essence of Delirium is what you want to use. This does start out pretty expensive. It could be, I don't know, the economy next league, 15, 20, 30 chaos per. So I do only recommend using one and then sucking it up and dealing with what you have. That's why very specifically, I am not telling you to go for spell suppression or anything on your gloves. That is much less comfortable to go for. All I have on here is 1 res. That's like tier 3, I think, and a little bit of life. So we just want to use an Essence of Delirium here, suck it up, and use whatever we got. All right, we got some dexterity. We can, move some decks around somewhere, and we got a little bit of lightning res. So that's what we got. Kind of sucks, but we just kind of live with it. If you want more damage, I do recommend the socketed AoE gems and, try to exalt life on here. Or if you don't care about the single target as much, you can craft life. So those are the 2 things you can craft on the prefix there. I would probably just do this, try to go for more damage, and hope I hit life. Okay. Technically we hit life, and we suck it up, and we just use it. Recommend just use 1 essence, craft life, or, try to exalt life on there, and just use whatever you get. The ring is just there for stats. Just try to get, strength, res, life, whatever you can get on there. That's good to go. Amulet, this is just literally off the ground. So you can use a dex or strength essence if you want to do that. Unfortunately, you can't use a res essence. You can use Essence of Delirium for 15% damage over time multiplier on your ring. I do recommend, though, using Essence of Anger, because we actually end up getting a good amount of dot multi, such that increased damage scales not quite 1-to-1 with dot multi, but it scales really nicely, and it's going to be much cheaper. So both on your amulet and your ring, if you do have suffixes available for res, which it's going to be tight earlier on, but later on, you can craft it with Essence of Anger and just get that guaranteed, I think it's 34, yeah, 34% increased fire damage on your ring and your amulet for 68% increased damage, which is pretty nice. So amulet, just go for stats, ROG crafted or whatever, just get something decent. That will take you very far. And then later on, you can get the +1 gem stuff. Fractured +1 all gems, and then do the harvest craft for fire and do all that type of stuff. But, that's much further on. So that's all the gear. And then luckily, the other 3 items of gear that we have are uniques. So they are what they are. There's nothing to go for there. So just a quick little run through of the gear. What I recommend going for right here. You can go for something like this for your jewel. Ignore the proj speed, but trap throwing speed actually feels really good. Max life, damage over time, fire and lightning resistances. You can also go for something like this. This is a really good one. Damage over time, burning damage, and deal damage with ailments faster. So you can go for that a little bit later. That's a really nice one, but just a starter one with life and res. That's really what you're going to be going for earlier on. So hopefully this video made it very clear how easily accessible, how SSF friendly the vast majority of this gear is. The hard part is going to be Profane Proxy. You might just want to manually curse an SSF. That is the hardest part. For the Lightning Coil, just to make it really clear, you can go for the Coming Storm. This is annoying to farm, but once you're farming your tier 16 maps or whatever, you can just farm your yellow maps if you want to. These are the maps that you can do it. You get 80 of these, guaranteed Lightning Coil, and you're good to go. So this is very SSF friendly. Experienced SSF players I've seen on average will get this around day 2. So you can just focus farm that card and guarantee get that. Eye of Malice, this is a tier 4 unique. It's very, very common. Highlight it on your loot filter. One thing I like to do actually is to walk around with a stack of chance orbs and highlight a white callus mask on my loot filter. I'll just pick up every single one and I will chance it. If it doesn't turn into a Eye of Malice, I'll throw it on the ground. Because it's a tier 4 unique, it's actually pretty easy to get. Yeah, so Profane Proxy is a tier 3 unique, which just puts it a little out of the, you're going to guarantee get that on a day 2 type of thing. But it's still tier 3, so with some focused farming, it will show up eventually. It's not that rare. It's close enough where it's going to be a little annoying to get an SSF. So you might want to manually curse for a little bit, but you'll get it eventually. So for those of you who made it this far, thanks for watching. I really appreciate you guys. Thanks for being interested in this build. I really love this build. I really believe in it. And for the few of you that are going to play it out there, I think you're going to have a great time. It's my favorite League starter that I've ever played. It's not Giga Chad in any single one direction, but it's really zippy, fast, and, get your goals done. You're going to get your Void Stones very quickly and cleanly. It is pretty darn SSF friendly. Without the Profane Proxy, you can put everything together really, really quickly, and you'll have a great time. I promise. And if you have any other questions, join me on Twitch. I'll be there, and I'll answer all your questions to the best of my ability. Sometimes I get a little distracted. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. See y'all soon. Goodbye.